Hi, everyone. Thank you again for joining us on this beautiful, beautiful day for another conversation. We hope you enjoy it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys, listen, I was just, Nadine and I were talking, because she lives in the US half of the time and lives in Trinidad. And just in terms of her COVID experience. And I was just thinking, like, for me, like, I am just like, I'm so tired of COVID-19, right? I'm tired of all the restrictions. I'm tired of all the, and then in terms, we don't have like a uniform policy. And Nadine was
Mhm.
saying that in Trinidad, it was so different, like,
Yeah.
yeah.
It was a totally different experience. For example, when I was in the US, okay, when you go into stores and you go into establishments, you have to wear a mask. But when you're outside in public, you could decide if you're wearing one or not. And but in places like New York, where it's stricter, there's a mask mandate. It's dependent on the states. In Florida, it's very lax. So, and I just think too, this whole COVID thing, you get tired of it and everything, but still, there must be sensitivity to know it's not just you are tired of it, but you could spread it to people who would not recover quickly and who may die. So you need to keep that in mind. So when my experience in Trinidad is totally different. From the time you step outside, you need to wear your mask. If you don't wear your mask, you can be charged 150 US by the police.
In
You know,
Trinidad.
yes,
Yeah,
it's
a
that
thousand
much.
city. Yeah,
Oh,
Yes,
wow.
yes.
yeah.
Even if you're in a car with your family, you if you're in a car alone by yourself, you can decide not to wear a mask. But if there are two people in the car, that person could be your spouse. They don't want to hear that. They will stop you, the police will stop you and give you a ticket. So
Wow.
it's a totally different scenario. It's very strict. And in hindsight, there needs to be some level of strictness to get it under control. It's my belief that people, there would be people will get fed up and start doing what they want, and oh, this is not affecting me. That type of attitude, and because of that type of attitude, there must be leadership from top down making mandates in your country or in your area to make sure that it is kept under control. Because as you said, Delia, people are tired of
Yeah.
wearing masks and they're tired of the whole situation, but you can't approach it like that. It's a pandemic and it needs a certain amount of time. And they usually say with a pandemic, it takes about 3 years to get back to normal. So you cannot
Exactly.
just decide, I'm not wearing my mask and I'm not sensitive to the needs of others. Because if you not don't wear your mask and you get sick and you recover quickly, the next person, your auntie, your granny, somebody who's sick, like my mother and my aunt has cancer, and if I don't do certain things and I get it, I recover, but they are not going to recover from it, and there must be some level of sensitivity. What you think, Sharon, as a business owner in Trinidad? What you think of the strictness of the whole and the COVID situation?
I must say, well, good afternoon, everyone. Good day, everyone. I must say that from the get-go in Trinidad and Tobago, we've handled COVID quite well. Measures were put in place from the time we announced the first case. They started to put measures in place to deal with it. Of course, they shut down the malls, they shut down business places, and we reopened in June. Upon reopening, we've had to adjust our way of doing business, our way of dealing with customers, our way of how we set up our spaces. For example, you have to social distance and just adhere to the sanitizing. As you enter the mall, you must sanitize your hands, you must wear a mask, and you must follow these guidelines. Even at my place, I can't have too many customers at the same time in the same space. The difficulty, though, we are Trinidadians, we know how we are. You tell a person, excuse me, you need to distance yourself from the other person. And they think that you're bothering them sometimes. So constantly having to tell persons to adhere to the rule could be a little tedious, especially when you're dealing with adults. I recall just recently, I had some customers like my place is set up, Nadine,
Yeah.
I can have at each corner, a client at each corner, right?
Right.
And so I had, and then if there are more clients in between, they can filter middle way in between these spaces. So recently I had two clients at each corner, a client each at a corner, and then they were waiting for their turn. Suddenly, a lady is asking about a product. Before you know it, the other lady came close to her, and the lady was asking about the product has a young child who is not wearing a mask. Before you know it, all three of them and another guy came and was big conversation. So I'm busy doing my work, and I looked up and I said, "Excuse me, you all came together? No. You all know each other? No. Do you all mind social distancing?" I got a ton of attitude. And I said to the lady, I said to the mother of the child, I said, "Excuse me, you have a young child. You are wearing a mask. The other adults are wearing masks." I said, "Your child is not wearing a mask." And I said, "You're going to put your child at risk for somebody to assist you to make a decision to buy a mask for yourself. You want to buy the most stylish one. So you're going to put your child at risk to select the perfect item for yourself. Your child, on the other hand, is not wearing a mask." And then they all looked at me and they were like, "You have a point. You know, you're right." And I'm saying, and I said to them, I said, "We've been living with COVID for a while. Let us get used to doing the right thing, because the only way, like you said, Nadine, the only way we can protect ourselves is by doing the right thing." I am tired of wearing a mask. We're not used to wearing masks, but look at the bigger picture. It can't be a selfish approach. You have to look at the bigger picture. And if we do the right thing, we could get through this in a good way. There are persons who I've heard of cases where persons coming out, going to parties, doing their thing as usual, and they go back home to parents who are ill.
Right.
And I know of a case where someone died because the son who went to a party gave all the household COVID, and he survived, but his father died. So we can't have a selfish approach to COVID.
That's the thing
It
with
has affected.
I think COVID, it almost forces you to think about
To be
other people's
sensitive.
humanity, to
Exactly.
realize that we are interconnected. And what I do
Yes,
is not just whatever, it impacts
Yeah.
people around me, could be family, it could be strangers.
exactly.
It requires us to be, as you keep saying, sensitive to other people, and to
Yeah.
Exactly.
do the
Exactly.
right
I'm
thing.
sure.
Like
I
we have a
I
kind
understand.
society.
Delia, I understand what you all are saying. It makes perfect sense. But let me tell you all something. That is such a stress. You leave the house, you sanitize. You get in the car, you sanitize. You put on your mask. It's like I am walking around with this bag of these products that you have to use. And I understand why you must and why I must. But it's just every time you leave the house, it's not relaxing to leave your house anymore.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it takes a toll on you. It's like sometimes I'll tell my partner, I don't want to go. It's
Yeah. It's
okay
a
because
hustle.
if you have to make like 100 stops, you have to sanitize 100 times. You have to wear this constant mask, and I know that is the right thing to do. I know it, but it's hard, and I could imagine for people who have children, young children, who have to constantly, because it's not normal. That's not normal for us.
But
I
you
mean,
know what? You
This
know
is
what,
why they've
Anna?
been
Wait,
saying
you know what, Anna? Children are wearing the
are
mask.
supposed to be home.
because they will get accustomed to that faster than us.
Exactly.
They will get accustomed to that faster than us. But for us to accustom just getting up and go,
But this is what we are
you
saying.
can't, because
Saying that the
there are many
But
times that
ladies,
I'm leaving the
ladies,
house and then remember I have to come back because I forgot the mask, forgot the sanitizer. So it's like, because you're not going to get served
No.
right.
in businesses and stuff if you don't have on your mask and if you don't sanitize. You're not going to
but
get
keep
served.
in mind,
So it's stressful, and I suppose we have to learn to deal with that
Exactly.
that new normal, you know?
it's going to be with us for a while. But keep in mind, Anna, they have also been advising us we have to stay at, because we're still in a pandemic. So we also stay at home. We can't just be leaving to go here and then everywhere. When you do leave your home, it's to go specifically to a place, get your business done, and get back home. And they're not advising to take children up and down the place because we are in a pandemic, and the only way we can come through it safely is by adhering to the rules. So while it's hard, because when I'm at work, I have to wear this mask for the entire day.
Yeah.
From the time I get into the mall till I leave the
Long
mall.
mall hours. Long mall hours.
Exactly, and it's
Yeah.
tough. It's tough on your lungs. I have a oxygen deficiency issue, so when I have to wear this mask for all these hours, it is difficult for me. I've tried different
Anna put
methods.
a mask and her shield too, well.
because I am not playing. I am not playing with Corona. I am not playing with Corona at all.
Sharon, you're right. And this is just the thing. It requires us to do things a little differently. And it shows me human behavior. People want
Yeah.
to continue doing what they have been doing, right? And sometimes in order to achieve something, regardless if it's corona or not, you have to do something different, right? And the outcome not
Yes,
survival. We want to live.
exactly.
We want to live.
But,
Exactly.
but we are talking about kids wearing a mask or not wearing a mask. Think about it. Kids can get corona. Most likely, they would not show symptoms. Most likely, kids will be asymptomatic. So, people talking to their children and you taking your child everywhere, your child could bring this disease home. In Trinidad, we have a lot of extended families. A child give
Yeah.
it to their grandfather or grandmother or somebody who's ill in the family. And you would not know that child have it because most likely they're going to be asymptomatic. I'm not saying they all
Yeah.
are, but might.
I know. I just that COVID is really, at the end of the day, as Anna is saying, it is stressful. Like for me, I am working at home now, and I feel like if I'm doing so much more, and you have breaks that like tells you, okay, what are you supposed to be doing? You get up in the morning, you take a shower, you
Yeah.
get dressed, you go to work. On your way to work, you have your coffee, you have your routines, right? All of that is gone. You know what I mean? So you have to do everything. You work at home, you play at home, you cook at
Yeah.
home, and it gets after a while, it gets to be like crazy.
Yeah, and you know what that leads to, Delia? What about the people who were in abusive situations and they took the opportunity to go to work for a breather, took the opportunity to leave the house to socialize with other people. Now they are put in a situation where they're home usually 24/7 with their abuser. So that is stressful. I'm not saying only women can be abused. I'm just saying that in a situation like that, it is hard when you're in an abusive relationship and you are at home with
I
your
mean,
abuser
just like I mean,
24/7.
even if just a regular, not even abusive. So
Mhm.
your situation can become abusive, even if it wasn't
Exactly.
abusive before, because you're constantly perhaps in your partner's face, because normally everybody would get up and go and then come back late in the night,
Yes.
something, go to bed
You
and
have a break. You have a break
yes,
from each other's
A break
spaces.
from the monotony of being together all the
Yes.
time, which, you
exactly.
know,
So that is
Yeah.
stressful. And like for me, I have a young son, well, teenager, who's being homeschooled, and I'm seeing the impact that it's having on him because he's like
yeah.
in high school, and his junior year was impacted where, and I mean, this is the stage because he's 16, where he starts to form his own identity in his social group and starts to go out and his first couple jobs and dates and that kind of thing, and all of those norms,
Are
those
no longer.
practices are being
Yeah.
impacted. So you ask
Right.
yourself, how is this going to
Mhm.
impact this whole generation
Right.
in terms
And
of the things that they would have normally experienced, right?
right.
And
And
bring
also,
just in terms of the stress,
well,
right? Because I do research, and we were looking at the research in terms of COVID being a stressor, and
right.
compared some data to people who were actually saying, I'm in a stressful situation that may need intervention, a psychological
Yeah.
intervention. Post-COVID time, it was like 3.9% of the people reporting I'm under serious stress. And in a survey done in April, it was like 13.9%, almost 14% of people reporting that they are under heavy stress. So
And
COVID,
emotional stress.
yes, COVID is really impacting people's emotional and psychological life, you know?
Even in Trinidad right now, we still are homeschooling. Schools have not opened back. And just think of the scenario where children are concerned. Children like playing with other children. Children like socializing. For example, I was at a friend's house and her granddaughter, she's four, and she wants to learn to play piano. She's telling me she's not going to school. She will do stuff learning everything online, but still children are children. They want to play, they want to interact. So it's a stressor for them also, although they adjust faster than adults, it's a stressor for the children in society also.
But not only that, too, Nadine, even for the parents, because parents who are not computer literate suddenly have to deal with the schools sending the work via email, and they have to get it printed out and then have it done by the child and then upload it and send it back to the school. That is providing so much stress
Yeah,
for parents.
yeah,
They don't know how to even use the phone. It's just causing so much chaos.
yeah.
So that it's not just the child has been impacted, it's across the board.
Mhm.
But we're gonna get through this. My feeling about this is that we adapt, and in my heart I feel after COVID we're gonna be a changed world. I'm hoping, and we're gonna be more caring because getting through a pandemic is not an easy task, but
I'm sure
it's possible. It is possible, and
it's
how
possible.
we what we put in place now, how we deal with it now, will determine the kind of world we will come out of on the other side.
On another note, children who go to school in Trinidad, even this happens in the US where they're dependent on the school to feed them. In Trinidad, we have the school feeding program. In the US, when children go to school who are underprivileged, they get at least 1 or 2 meals in school. When they are not in the school system and they are not getting their food um, feeding program, those are less fortunate children who don't have the luxury of breakfast and lunch and dinner from their family. They are now even at a greater risk because when they were in school, the school was feeding them. What is happening to that children
But
in that scenario now?
I believe, and I know when we had first started the no school, the government was providing meals still to parents. They were providing, I think it's grocery vouchers or a card where you could go and buy, so they had something in place to deal with persons who were at a disadvantage and can provide food. And we've had a number of
But
different services to assist parents in dealing with, be it the salary grant, the rent grant. We've had a
Okay,
number of things.
but Sharon, all these things are in place, but it's still a stress to get it. For example, Delia, what about in the US where they have food banks and the lines are long for less fortunate people to get
And the thing
all
about
of
it,
these things are
it's not even
provided?
less fortunate people, Nadine. It's regular people who
Yeah,
had who were, maybe lower middle class who had a job, and
and now they don't have a job.
they don't have jobs, so they have
Yeah,
plunged into
but I
house.
think what's happening here, people, that what we need to look at as well is that this COVID is actually forcing us to see the holes, the gaps in
Gaps
our
in the
society.
system. Yeah.
yes,
You
yes,
know, people,
definitely.
because now we have to focus on everybody. Before it's like it's only a few would focus on, okay, they need this and whatever. But now as a society, we have to look at the gaps that this
Yeah,
has caused and fix it.
right.
So there's a negative part of it, but there's also a positive part, so that we could actually, our society should be, I think ideally be better because of it.
Right.
Because
Okay.
there are communities where there's no water, there's no
Yeah.
electricity, there's a lot of things, but because of COVID, and you have to pay attention to getting these people the care that they need. Maybe our people in charge could look at these gaps.
But Anna, I'm
So
gonna say something very controversial. Huh? Remember, Delia, you will correct me if you think I'm going off. There's something called the Darwinian theory, and it sounds harsh, but COVID,
what, Terry, Nadine, I didn't hear you.
Darwinian theory, yeah, and it's basically it's weeding out the weak. So COVID, it sounds harsh, but it's literally weeding out the weak and the frail in society. But we are a society of people who think. We are not animals. So we also have to provide for those and take care of those in society who are weak, because the Darwinian theory is based on the animal kingdom.
Yeah.
You understand? But
And
we,
as you
although we are
saying,
animals,
as you
we
were
are
saying, Nadine,
thinking animals.
we are not
Yes, go ahead.
animals, and as a civilized society, We are bound
Exactly. That's what I'm
to care
saying.
of our most vulnerable. And
Vulnerable.
also,
Yeah.
the vulnerable in society, right? They are created, they are victims basically of systems
Yeah.
of oppression, systems such as capitalism, right? Racism, all of these things create vulnerable populations because you know
Right.
capitalist society is looking to pay the worker the least and get the most out of the society, out
Get
of
the
them.
most out of
If you
them.
can pay them $10 an hour, right? Because that's basically what happened. Exposed, this COVID exposed in the U.S., where you have people who are literally adults working for $7.25 an hour. How can you save? How can you have any kind of buffer for anything that happens? So in a month,
Yeah.
people weren't able to pay their rents. They had nothing, right? So COVID has
Yeah.
exposed, as you said, Anna, the gaps, the deficits, the fact where we as a civilized society need to do better. And
Yeah.
my 80-year-old or 89-year-old grandmother, I don't have one, but if I did, um,
Yeah.
I want her because she may not be physically strong,
All the
but the
experiences,
wealth and the depth of what she can contribute, her
knowledge.
wisdom, you can't put a price on
Mhm.
that. You understand?
Yes, you
Yeah.
can.
You cannot put a price on that at all, at all, at all.
If we should lose all our elderly because of this COVID, do you know the wealth of information
Yeah.
we would
Yeah.
lose as well?
There's
Yeah.
an African
Because
proverb that says,
I
if you lose an elder, you lose a library. That's what
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what you lose. You know?
Because or traditionally African history is an oral tradition that is passed down from one generation to the next.
Exactly, exactly. We have to admit we are tired. We are under stress.
Yeah.
COVID has taken a toll from the littlest to the oldest, but it is what it is. So what do adults do when they're faced with a problem? They put on their big girl panties or
Yes.
drawers. You understand? And deal with it. Not stop complaining. Put on the damn mask. Use your hand sanitizer. You understand? And hopefully we will get political leadership, right? Aligns to medical values so that we could all be on one page, right?
Yeah.
And we could overcome and move on and help create a society, as Anna was saying, where we fill the gaps. You know, that's all
Yeah.
for.
One thing I found was funny though, when I came here and I'm going into a store, there's a sink, an actual sink with soap, and you open a pipe and you wash. I was like, what is
yes, there's an
this?
actual sink outside every
Every
store,
store. I was
every
like, what is
grocery,
this?
Yes.
every
And they have a guard
restaurant.
making sure you do it. I was
That's
like, what
and
is
a
this?
guard to make sure you wash your hands. It's
But do
you
you know
can't
what's funny?
miss,
You know
And
you
what's
in
know.
funny?
inside
So
the store, they have hand sanitizer posts, and as you go along the store, your hand
That here.
sanitized.
But you know what is interesting though? Since we've been practicing washing our hands more, nobody has to come on call anymore.
I guess, yeah.
Ah,
because if you don't have the common cold, then you have COVID, right?
Nobody's sick,
you
nobody
realize
coughing.
how
They
many
stick and
hygienic
cough.
practices we had prior to COVID-19. I
Don't make the mistake and cough somewhere. Everybody watching you like,
that's
Exactly.
that's
And
all
listen,
I'm gonna
and
say.
you have to actually be walking with your cream too, because it's not like the most
I know.
expensive
Your hands
hand
are
washers
drying
outside
out.
there. It's
Yes.
nearly like squeezy. You understand?
I
Your
know,
hands
I know.
dry.
And your hand wrinkle up like prunes.
Small,
So, but
small price to pay, guys. But
Yes,
again,
it is.
Nadine, this was a really interesting conversation, and I think I can speak for all of us when we say, I guess they're all glad you're back in Trinidad.
Yeah, everybody. Except I miss the US because I miss my son and I miss my friends there. But I know I'm going back, bro. I eventually.
Right, right, right.
Yeah. Maybe after inauguration when all the back and all done.
Yes, when we have President don't okay. By the time this airs, yeah, it will be the week before election anyway. And yeah, like we have to be our brother's keeper. We have to
Yes,
understand
definitely.
that we are
Yeah.
all connected, and what I do impacts others. And that's
Definitely.
hopefully that is what we take as we negotiate a world post COVID. All right.
Mhm.
So again, thank you guys for sharing and watching. And please don't forget to like, share, and comment. What do you think? How are you feeling about COVID-19? What are you doing now that you didn't do before? Or what is happening now that you want to do but you cannot do? Tell us your story.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
See you guys next time.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.